It's Sunday morning, April the 24th, 2022, and it's a pleasure to be able to share a few thoughts with you from the scriptures today. I'm Pastor Mike Custer, the pastor at Bible Baptist Church in Grand Forks, North Dakota, and this morning we're going to be reading again from Proverbs chapter 23. This morning it's verse 10 and 11, Proverbs chapter 23, verse 10 and 11. The Bible says, "Remove not the old landmark, and enter not into the fields of the fatherless, for their Redeemer is mighty. He shall plead their cause with thee." And we saw this same principle just a couple of weeks ago, remove not the ancient landmark, and we talked about honesty. This morning we're going to just discuss briefly the fact that God says he's going to take Israel's side. He's going to take their part. And the Bible says, "Remove not the old landmark, enter not into the fields of the fatherless, for their Redeemer is mighty. He shall plead their cause with thee." God's going to defend his people. He promised way back in Genesis, he promised Abraham what land that they would receive. And when Joshua came in with the people in the Canaan conquest, the land was assigned, and God wanted each family to possess their own inheritance. And the Bible says that's a serious thing if a person tries to steal what he has given to the Jews. And we're seeing a lot of this today in the Holy Land, on the West Bank and the Gaza Strip and different places where the people of Israel really should be able to possess that property, possess that land. God promised it to them and gave it to them, and it belongs to them. And so God says, don't remove the old landmark. And the Bible goes on to say there in the next verse, their Redeemer is mighty, and he will plead their cause with thee. In other words, he's going to defend Israel. He's going to make sure that they get the land that he promised that they would possess. And we should be very careful about the idea of resisting the nation of Israel, because the Bible says he will bless those that bless them and curse those who curse them. Genesis chapter 12 states that, and taking sides against the people of Israel is not a good idea. God has promised to support them and plead for them and stand beside them. And this is an unconditional promise that God made with Israel. Even though many of them reject Christ, his son, God still has a place for Israel in his great plan. I think it's interesting when you read a history of the calamities that come upon countries that turn their back on or attack, make aggressive movements against the land of Israel, the people of Israel. God says he will plead their cause. He is their Redeemer, and he will care for them. He will take care of them. And God still has a place for physical Israel in his purposes, in his plans. Read the book of Revelation, and you'll find it over and over again that God still has a place for the land of Israel, for the people of the Jews after the flesh, in his purpose. And so it behooves every nation to beware. It's not a profitable thing to make a move against God's chosen people. God will defend them. And it's been a good thing that our nation has been friends with Israel for many years, for decades. And now that there is less and less friendly feelings toward Israel, we are suffering for it. We would do better to be their friends still and help them and defend them and take their part in international struggles. God has promised to care for his people, and he's going to. Be careful you don't develop the wrong attitude toward the Jews after the flesh. And it's safe to say that in many cases, they're not godly or God-fearing people. There are some Messianic Jews and people who believe in Jesus Christ who are Jewish people, but that's not the general trend of the nation. But still, they are God's chosen people after the flesh. and he's going to take care of them. And that's what this verse in Proverbs is about today. God bless you today.